Hey everybody, we made it. Hopefully you can make it too. Ian went to go spray his nose so he doesn't gargle when he talks. But he's on his way back, and we got the software working today, so everything is good and copacetic when it comes to that. So yay. Here he comes. I'm on.
Okay,
It worked. Yes, yes.
good.
One person liked it already.
Awesome.
And then someone left.
Oh, and I've actually got notified. Okay.
All right. Good. Notifications are working and everything. Nadja says, hello, hope you're having a great day. Yes, today has been pretty good. Um, and we're in a new year. It's Emerald Dawn says, hello, hope everyone is doing well. Hi, Emerald, thank you very much. And yes, we're doing pretty good at this point. It's a new world and a new day and a new year, and who knows, many possibilities.
Well, that's
TV Movie says, hello, happy to catch you live. Welcome. Claudia says, hello, long time no see. Hi, Claudia, thank you for all the hearts. Green says, hello, happy 2022. Yes.
Yep.
We have a few new people and a few people we haven't seen in a while, so that's awesome. Zuzana says, hello. Hi, Zuzana.
Cool.
So, yeah, it's, we were sorry we missed you guys last week. It was just one of those things where the computer software and the camera and the audio microphone thing were not talking to each other for some reason. We still don't know exactly why that happened, but at least we now have a sort of a solution to getting it to work together properly. So how are you all doing? I mean, what do we want to talk about today? We got 13 people up.
Awesome. Sorry about my sniffling. It should go away in a moment.
Yes, I told them you were going to go spray your nose so you wouldn't be snuffling too much. So yeah, that's a good thing.
Well, so you had some questions from me.
Not yet, no. Not really. I mean, the question about the book, I guess, could go underneath this category. Someone was asking me what I thought about the book The Secret, and I think it's what's the word? Flimsy. It doesn't really get into the meat of things. It's kind of like a mass marketing way to approach the idea of creating your own reality, and it sort of misses all the actual meat of what we do to change ourselves in order to be able to interact more effectively with the universe. But
So, what does anybody want to
I asked
hear
already and
about?
waiting.
Talk about?
Nadja says, not sure if there is a video about this, but how does one make a wand and what uses do they have? Oh, yes, there is a video about this. It's called How to Make a Wand. and so, and then, and in that video, I show you all of the various wands I have, of which there's about 13 or 14 different kinds of wands that I've made. And I think there's another video where I talk about tools in general and, the basics kind of thing and go over that. But yes, it depends on how you want to make a wand. You can either cut it from a live tree like I do because I interact with the spirit of the tree and that's part of the magic that I'm using. Or you can find a piece of wood, or you can use something else rather than wood to make a wand. So,
Well, what about the uses?
well, there's so many different uses. Probably pretty much any kind of energy you want to charge it up with, it becomes useful for that. I like tools like that because then you can like collect the kind of energy in one spot that then when you need it, you have it. It's like it's tuned to a specific type of energy. That's why I have so many wands. So I have my planetary wands and elemental wands.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Attuned to what kind of energy and what you're going to use it for. You can go from a pretty much generic willpower charged wand to just make your willpower happen whenever you're trying to do a spell or whatever, to getting for example, having a Mars wand that works with the Mars force and through the Mars force and applies that to your projects, because the energy that you're using is important. The intent is the most important, but if you put a good energy source with that, then you can really start accomplishing things.
So Ivan says, hey, much love from Bulgaria. Hope you are well. Hi, Ivan. We haven't seen you in a while. Nice for you to join us. We appreciate you. And we're doing well at the moment.
Yes,
Sinead says, hi, glad I caught this live. Was wondering if you guys were thinking of doing podcasts. Love you guys. I don't know. I've not thought of doing a podcast.
I hadn't either. You have to
Not sure exactly.
learn more about what that entails.
That would be without video, I'm thinking, isn't it? That's just
no. Well, it's
podcast
not live, but
it's not live. Yeah,
it could be. I don't know.
we don't know. We haven't thought about it yet. We're now thinking about it. But doing these and making our weekly videos is where we're at the moment. So we'll have to see what happens in the future. Thank you for loving us. We appreciate that. Susanna said, I think you've already talked about it, but how do you get to a state where you can see things? You mean clairvoyantly? It's an evolution of your abilities and practice of opening up your mind to being able to see things that you've trained yourself to believe aren't there, unconsciously even, because you've been, parents generally tell us that we don't see what we see, and we sort of make decisions and choices about what exactly is reality, and so there's a process of unconditioning, deconditioning. I don't know what the right word is for that, but taking that automatic assumption that we have about what we see out there and opening ourselves up to seeing things that are different. And that's a conscious choice and effort that you end up making. I often practice that idea over water. It seems to work for me that way, where I look out over a body of water and start to see sort of the shimmer of energy above the water, and then I tell my brain that I want to see what's really there, and I don't want it to, weed out the things it thinks are erroneous or unimportant, because I want to decide for myself what's erroneous and unimportant at this point. And then, practice. That's one way of practicing. And then practicing in a dim lit room, you can practice trying to see your aura and see colors and so forth, and it will slowly come. The other thing you have to do when you want to be able to see things is to figure out how not to be afraid of what you might see. You might become quite startled the first time you see something suddenly, and that's not uncommon, and it's sort of normal, but it's a process like everything else. It doesn't happen instantaneously. Even those of us who are born with it awakened, we still have to go through training and learning how to control it and all that other stuff. So, all right. So Gary says, hello, so glad to see you loved your video somehow or magically. You seem to answer my thoughts. Thank you, Loretta. Gary says hi too. Thank you, Loretta. I appreciate that. And I always find that fascinating. Someone left a message about that exact thing, that they were just thinking about the subject and deciding on how they were going to deal with something. And in their case, it was a physical ailment, and how to look at physical ailments as far as what you can do or what you should do or what have you. And so I was glad that I could shed some light on her decision-making process and help her with that. Lynn says, finally. Yes, Claudia says, not sure what is, but I had experience hearing voice spirits lately. Is this clairaudience? Yes, this is clairaudience, hearing of sounds and voices. Every sense that you have has got a clair equivalent. They've been really working with my ability to smell smells that aren't there. But yeah, I don't get as much clairaudience, though. My granddaughter was very much in the clairaudience when she was younger. I haven't talked to her lately to find out if she still hears things. Come to think of it, I think I had a dream about her tiger the other day and forgot to tell her about it. Just popped back into my head. Lynn says I always catch it at the end. Well, now you didn't. You caught it at the beginning. We're just getting started. We're like 10.5 minutes in, so you've got like a whole hour and more to ask whatever you want, and we'll talk about it. That's the thing we like about the live shows, is that, they're not prepackaged and planned. It's like, it's the audience interaction, you guys' questions and what is on your minds right now that sort of leads the discussion and so forth, not just the videos that we put out.
And we get a lot of insights from your comments also. So
Yeah.
it's a nice learning experience for us also.
Yeah, it's nice to have that kind of peer kind of experience, since it's so hard for us to find any people locally to have a conversation with. Oh well, so we had to widen the net, right? And get like way out there, the whole planet, and find those few people that wanted to talk. So, yay. Ivan says, may I ask, have you ever received any gifts from spirits, gods, goddesses, or other? Any gifts? You mean like physical gifts?
Would my staff count?
I guess our staves would count, actually, both of our staves. That would be the answer to that question, yes. And you got the crystal. The way they send you gifts is always through the agency of other people, because, if they're physical objects, at least for us, I haven't had one like materialize in front of me or dreamt about it and have it show up in my bed when I woke up, which would be kind of cool. I'm open to that, guys.
Dream about gold bars.
I dream about gold bars. Yeah, but there's a problem with that because they have serial numbers on them, I think.
Gold nuggets, then.
Okay, gold nuggets. Yeah, they're better than gold bars. And it's like, that would be awesome if that would happen. But yeah, we have gotten definite gifts from the universe. They show up in secondhand stores, and when I got a serious gift from Garuda when I started working with him, and he sent me an amazing statue of himself through Goodwill. No, Salvation Army. And I'd never even seen a statue of him in our community. We're in a very small community, so that's how I see them anyway. So TV Movie says, I've heard some occultists say all of the entities, spirits, elementals, etc. are thought forms, and we are creating them. Is that really true? Are we really creating all of them? Much love. Well, both of us believe the answer to that question is no. That is not true.
There are a lot of the Western Hermeticists in the realm of people who study Crowley and Lon Duquette that believe it's all internal. I would say, practically speaking, that's not true.
Yeah, and if you think about it, think about what that says. That says that we are the only thing in the universe. There's nothing else out there but us. And I think your pet cat would have something to say about that right off the bat, without thinking of all the other things that exist that don't have to exist because of us. I mean, if physical reality isn't an expression of our subconscious and so forth, why would we believe necessarily that spiritual reality would be that? It's before humans came out of the ooze and developed brains and thoughts and ideas and religion and spiritual paths and interactions with the divine and the universe and so forth, there was things that existed when we weren't around. So I think of that as a hubris type of thing, that we think we're so great that we did all this stuff, and really we need to take a step back from that.
It might be true in an ultimate theoretical type of sense, but
there certainly are some that we have created.
Yeah, you can't. It's not practical to act on that as a reality, because you're going to end up
getting in trouble.
Yeah, getting surprised in in a bad way, but some people believe it pretty seriously.
And, you know, if there are consequences for that belief, I'm sure they're going to find out what they are. So, a seal says, have you ever shifted realities or visited a different realm? Well, I've gone into, you know, the astral and mental realms, but that's probably not what you mean. Shifting realities, I have felt like that has happened to me only a few times when I lived up in the middle of nowhere. Um, but I don't know for sure if that was true. I did have an experience where I knew what happened in all the other different realities that I would have been in had I, when I was going, I had to back down a mountain covered in ice, and I kept sliding to the edge of the cliff, and I had this idea that I knew I wasn't going to die that day, so then I could do this. I'm not sure if that was brilliant or not. And and I would get almost to the edge of the cliff and stop and then turn the wheel, and I ended up in a ditch on the other side just before I got to a bridge that had no rails, which would have put me in the ravine down below on one side or the other. But I saw myself injured and dead on the bottom of the ravine over and over and over again while I was walking up the snow and ice mountain to get to help in order to, you know, get out of there. So that was an interesting experience of like potential alternate realities, but in the sense that um, that we can just sort of consciously shift from this reality to another one. I'm not sure that that is common or something to aspire to necessarily, but you know. Violet says hi, hi Violet. Nadia says, not sure if I've asked this already. Is it possible? And how to bring objects from our dreams if we are gifted. Whoops. My finger did something. Some by spirits or others. I don't know if it's possible or not.
No, but I have.
I mean, I've heard stories about it being possible for some cultures that do dreaming on a regular basis, but
there, I have something that sort of relates to that happened once, and that was I was being visited by a spirit in a dream multiple times. I was trying to communicate with this particular one, and he told me if I wanted to do more with the spirit that I could go to a river and choose a small stone, and that he would guide me to the proper stone to pick that he could use as a house if I wanted that to go farther with that. And that actually happened. I got the stone. I didn't go any farther with it, but that sort of came through the dream, not directly, but in a fashion where I was guided to one that would be proper for the being, for what that's worth.
Ivan says, thank you. You two guys, you two are always amazing. Thank you, Ivan. Jonathan says, hi everyone. Siofra, relating your video on magical development and also the one on creating our realities. When are you going to tell us how to become werewolves? You are a scam, aren't you? Well, someone asked me that once. Yeah, seriously. I got contacted by this guy that wanted help in becoming a werewolf. And, you know, I'm like, go find one and get bit. This is the only way I know how it happens. So I'm sorry, I don't know any. So you're on your own. It's like, yeah. I don't believe that that's a likelihood. I think that shape-shifting in other realms is definitely very real and possible and happens. I think there's also a reality to being able to connect psychically with an animal form and to see through its eyes, like in the movie The Beastmaster. I think that that has got definite potential and validity to it, and some people might be able to do that. But I don't think that transmutating or transforming our physical bodies into a completely different form is something that we can accomplish. I think reality has something to say about that, and it's not, yeah, go for it. Angela says, hi Siofra and chat blessings. Hi Angela. Luna says, hello all, how are you, Siofra and Ian? I missed you last week. Yes, we're doing okay. Yesterday I had a little bit of a rough patch because I woke up remembering a childhood trauma event, and I think it's because my birthday's coming. My birthday is going to be Monday after next on the 17th, so. But that was just one of those short things. It lasted for a few hours, and had a good cry, and Ian held me and let me cry, and then I got through the ick and got out to the other side, back to my normal, usual, cheerful self. So, yay. But that's how life is, isn't it? Luna also said it, Jonathan. Shay says, on my lunch break at work. Happy Sunday, friends. Hi, Shay. Hope you're feeling good and being safe. Sinead says, do you both have any advice on astral travel for those who can't visualize? No, not really.
Well,
It seems like astral travel kind of requires visualization. Um, I mean, if you actually get out of your body, you don't have to visualize. It's just there. I mean, your room is there, your bed is there, your body is there. You know, if you're going to do true astral travel, then visualization is not required. If you're going to do mental travel, then visualization is definitely required because it's a thing that happens in your head that can affect reality. I certainly have done some amazing mental travels where I've done distance healings and things like that that have had instant effects on the people I've done them with. You know, so Ian's going to go and take care of his nose. He shall be back, he says. So, Luna says happy lunch break for Shay. Angela says hi, Violet. Shay says love. Violet says love, Angela. Claudia says, as a child, I get very sick. I got very sick, and I remember like yesterday was an entity feeding on me on my sickness. The feeling was intense that I was not able to forget. I believe that exists much more. Well, that certainly is a possibility. I mean, energy vampires exist and they're there. So hopefully you've not been sick and you have made yourself well and you have shored up your personal boundaries and energetic barriers and so forth so that something can't do that to you again. I'm sorry that that happened to you. Luna says, I know you guys must be busy, but was wondering if you got my email last week. I don't think I did. Maybe it ended up in my my spam folder. I'll have to check because I checked my email just a little bit ago, and if I didn't respond to you, that means I didn't get it. I'm sorry. Maybe you can ask your question if it's a good question for the group. If not, I'll find my email and answer you. Gary says, what do you think about deja vu? Is it that this happened before? I think so. I think that when I get a lot of deja vus, my interpretation of that is that I have checked into the future and where I'm going, and so I'm on the path that I looked at. That's kind of the feeling I get. Sometimes it seems to be related to a past life or something like that, where something is just that kind of familiar. And I've had that happen too. And I'm not sure if that's exactly a deja vu or not, but we often call it that. So, Angela says, hugs and happy early birthday. You'll be 21, right? Oh, you betcha. Luna says, sorry to hear that, Siofra. Yeah, it happens. Shay says, Siofra, I'm sorry you were remembering childhood trauma, but I'm so grateful that Ian was there to hold you. Yes, it was very nice. And that's the thing. It's like when you're processing stuff like that, blocking it doesn't work. It doesn't help. Letting it out. I tried to sort of, tamp it down during the day and distract myself with other things. And then there was a quiet moment, and all of a sudden it just wanted out. So I let it out. And it's like annoying, but it was good. So Violet says, a proud 71, I'm guessing? No, actually, a 72. I'm now a 71. Sinead says, oh, okay, thank you for answering my I'm sorry you were upset. You're welcome, and it's okay. I mean, we're alive and we're human, and we go through stuff like everybody else. That's just sort of the existence of being human. Luna says, Barden says that it is possible for certain magicians to assume animal form, which might explain the werewolf phenomena. He doesn't explain how to do it, though.
Yeah, and he's not talking about physically anyway, but astrally, mentally.
So Jonathan says to Sinead, Siofra has mentioned before using a spinning sensation to enter the astral plane. Remembering a spinning sensation might help you if other visualizations are difficult. True. Good recall, Jonathan. Thank you. Ivan says, do you have any tips on supporting someone through tough times like overcoming addiction, both mundane and magical? Yeah, well, um, mundane, you want to definitely have a support group and, medical assistance and the right environment and a counselor. Um, they have to want to get off an addiction. Magical, what I've done for people on that level is cut the cords between them and the larva that the addiction has created to give them a bit of a break. The larva will reattach if they don't stop the activity, or if they still have enough of it in their system or still have enough desire to do it, and they'll reattach, and then you can always detach them again. I use my sword for that, or my athame, and that would be the thing I would do magically. And also, magically, you can do a healing poppet. So, make a form of them and put healing herbs in it and crystals and things like that. And add your energy to them becoming well in that sense, so long as you have their permission, of course, like with anything like that. You don't have to necessarily be specific about exactly what you're going to be doing, but if they give you permission to do what you do to help them, I have discovered that telling someone what I've done is not necessarily turning out that great. I've lost some friends that way. Because when it worked and they wanted to know how it worked and what I did, and I told them, they're like, okay, we need to get away from this person. She's completely and totally nuts, and I'm going to go back to the church and get away from the evil thing.
I don't think it's that rational. It seems to come from a deeper level. It just, the thinking that somebody could do something on that level just scares the hell out of some people.
There's that too.
It's just not in their realm of consciousness, so it just scares the heck out of them.
Well, that was my experience when Dr. Strange showed up and helped me with the healing. So, yeah, it was all my brain processes and things like that were going on, and what I was accessing what I needed in order to accomplish the task at hand. And at that time, I didn't believe in my own healing ability enough to be able to just do it on my own. So I externalized a character from the Marvel universe that had both magical and medical training. So it seemed like a win-win situation. But yes, she never spoke to me again after that, after I healed her daughter from the ulcer that she had. Yeah, it's a strange thing. So those are my tips, Ivan. And if you need anything more, let me know. Sinead says, oh, right, I'll try that. Thank you, Jonathan. Violet says, there is also a werewolf scenario in the demon world. Well, I don't know anything about the demon world, so. Sophia Beth says, I didn't find any books or information about mental travel. Do you have any that can help?
Other than Barden's, I don't think anybody else distinguishes between mental and astral travel. So I recommend Barden's stuff on that. But the main advantage to a person is mental travel is not connected emotionally like astral travel is. If you travel in your mental and astral body, or just your astral body, you get all the emotions. But if you travel there in your mental body, you can watch something horrific and not, you only see the images and you don't really relate to it on an emotional plane like that. So it saves you a lot of stuff, especially if you're going to someplace unpleasant where you're trying to travel.
Yeah, the thing to do is to start to become acquainted with your different bodies. Energetic bodies. I mean, you've got your physical body, which is obvious because we can touch it But then you have your astral body, which is, as Ian was saying, where your feelings exist. It's sort of your emotional body in that sense. And then you have your mental body, which is in the realm of thoughts, ideas, and more disconnected from physical reality, and also disconnected from emotional reality. And then, of course, there's the akasha, which is difficult for most people to get into and remember anything about, because it's kind of like all the potential of all the things that might happen. It's a different kind of realm.
Yeah, and it's above thought, so it tends to keep you from
Remembering.
thinking or remembering.
Remembering is
Yeah.
extremely difficult in the akasha. When I had my experience with that, with the at the Akashic records, the keeper was behind me, and I don't know how long I'd been looking at this one page in the book, but he kept telling me to look and remember, look and remember, look and remember. When I became conscious, I could have been there for days, for all I know. But then
Probably just moments, actually.
well, I don't,
Yeah.
I have no clue because there's no real time. But I knew that I'd been there for a while, and because I was just becoming aware of the fact that I was there and that he was telling me to look and remember, and then I looked and remembered what I was shown to tell the other person about. Luna says, I'll resend my email to you, Siofra. I simply felt compelled to put pen to paper, having missed you last week. Okay, I'll look for it, and if it didn't show up, I mean, I'll check my spam folder too. Sometimes Gmail, any of the email services do weird things, and I don't always check that folder. So, Luna says that Jonathan, didn't you have a question for Ian? Hi, Violet. Ivan says thank you. Angela says, isn't one of the Goetan entities werewolf-like in form? I seem to remember that, but I may be misremembering. I don't know. I don't work with them, so it's possible. Green says, the atmosphere in this stream is so happy and calm. Well, welcome. We're so glad that you have come to participate. Luna says, I might have a cord to cut soon. Knowing my luck, I'll get Judge Dredd helping me. Well, he is a good character for some, needed violence if necessary.
I will say,
Protection.
when both of us met Doctor Strange, sorry, I'm getting ahead.
When you saw Doctor Strange, did he look like Benedict Cumberbatch, or did you recognize him another way? Benedict Cumberbatch was not on my radar. He looked like the comic book character, which looks a little bit like Benedict Cumberbatch.
Which is the same one I ran into at one point in a it's not worth talking about, but I did run across the comic book character of Doctor Strange, and this was way before the current Marvel movies and things.
Yeah, I think that this happened to me when I lived up in the Kispioks, so it was before 1985, because 85 is when I left and came back to the States. So it was probably 83 or 84, somewhere in there, when I did that. I can't remember if I was with David at the time or not. So there's a 5-year section between 80 and 85. It was sometime in there that it happened. Violet says, I was reading something that Arndale Overman or Diablito, but I can't remember which one on the werewolf. Susanna says, I heard about that manipulating energy can make you karma debt, which you will have to fix in the next life. Well, it depends on how you're using your energy. I mean, anything you do, any action you take can have karmic consequences, either positive or negative. I mean, that's the thing. A karmic debt doesn't have to be bad. It can be a positive thing. And we have that misinterpretation of karma a lot, thinking that any karma must be bad karma. But it's just about consequences and, consequences of your actions, the things that you put out and come back to you depending on what you put out. So that's why I ask permission to do healing on people, because I don't want to force it on anyone. I'm personally opposed to that. And if someone wants to stay sick or doesn't want my energy around them, then that's fine. They have the full right to make that decision for themselves, even if I think they're being silly. It's not my body. Violet says, I spelt it all wrong, but yes, agree. And this is at Dan, a good question. Yes, that was about Cumberbatch. Shay says, Siofra, whoops, my finger went nuts. Go back up there. Come on, finger. If we would like to send you money, gifts for your birthday, for whatever you want, what's the best way to do this? Well, I just started a PayPal account on my Gmail, so I activated it so people can send me money directly into my PayPal account if they wanted to give me a gift. And I think there's no real fees associated with that, or a lot fewer fees. And also through Facebook, my Siofra Bradigan Facebook account, I have that attached to a bank account so people can send me money through that as well. But for out of state, since out of North America, I think the PayPal would work better. But thank you for asking. It's always nice to get birthday presents. So, Lewis says, do you have a video of all the types of bodies? Yes, I did one on that. I did one on astral, mental, and Akasha bodies and travels. I think it might be under a deeper dive. I got some playlists up there, so you should look through the different videos and their the names of them under the playlist. So, you should be able to find it that way. And if not, drop me a note and I'll find it and I'll put it up on our community bulletin board and let you have a link to it. Nova says, how do you view deity? I'm having a hard time with this at the moment because I see them almost as cosmic parents, but this is not resonating well with me anymore and not sure how to look at them. Well, how we view them is going to be very individual. I don't know that I see them as cosmic parents. I see them as potential partners in magic, and that each one of them has got a different kind of energy that, depending on my needs, I can tap into a deity that resonates with that kind of energy and get an assist from them to do that. But I don't think of them as parents in the sense that they don't tell me what to do or how to do it or anything like that. So I guess it all depends.
Okay. I've just been trying to write a message and I can't send it.
Maybe it's too long.
Maybe so, yeah.
Violet says, I am interested in all of it, angels and demons equally. Jonathan says, Luna, I think maybe an email would be more appropriate for asking Ian about the sexual rituals of the higher degree OTO initiations.
Okay, I'd want to say something to that, which I was going to write out a comment for, but apparently it was too long. I was in the OTO, so I took specific oaths, so I will not discuss anything specifically OTO in that sense other than what is public knowledge in general. However, I have a good familiarity with the entire subject and the Hindu teachings on it, and I can't think what it was called. It was a Hermetic Brotherhood of Light or something like that predates the OTO, where a lot of the practices came from. So I have no problem discussing those type of practices and things in general. And I, again, through an email. That's right. Thank you for that.
Definitely better.
But
since we don't want to get an R rating.
Yes, but I can talk about the subject, but I will not go into any OTO specific stuff that is not commonly found in books nowadays.
Violet says, yes, leave sexual to email. Claudia says, I'm very good since I began to practice spirituality. I get to know the gods. I know I learned magic to protect myself and see positive changes and much more clarity. Well, that's good. Getting to know yourself is the key to any of this and all of this. Luna at Jonathan, laughing, not that question. Don't worry, I'm on my best behavior, Jonathan says. Violet says, she has all kinds of ways to donate. Her Etsy page is one. She has a patron page as well. East is best. I think that Etsy is best. Okay. That's what she meant. Angela says, I remember I used to talk to characters when I was afraid of them in movies as a young child and find out why they acted how they acted and why they scared me, not sure if I was working out my fear or if it was something else. That sounds like a healthy conversation to have, though, to try and figure that out for yourself. Not everyone would think of that. Luna says, Jonathan, I meant the thing about using breathing techniques to connect to spirit or something like that.
Well, there's a lot of good
breathing techniques to
yeah,
connect to spirit.
a lot of pranayama stuff. You have to kind of be careful with it if you get don't get real serious about it without making sure you meet all the criterions, uh, and don't overdo it. People have had a tendency in the Western world to damage their health by doing it not under the supervision of somebody who knows what they're doing, something like that. So I'm cautious. I use pranayama, but I'm cautious about it.
And just doing the basic breathing exercises can help you get in touch with that kind of stuff, even without the meditational
Yeah, it
aspect.
even starts with just watching your breathing, being
Yeah.
silent and just in and out and in and out.
Yep, focusing on your body and how the breath comes through your nostrils and goes down into your diaphragm and then back up and so forth. It can be very soothing
No, well,
and healing.
there's a very one that can be very initiatory if you get it far enough, where they call it the un. It's basically like the unrecited mantra that happens by itself, where you become the breathing in and out, and they call it it's one of two mantras, either Soham or Hamsa, and they both are basically the same. So I don't want to get too far afield on that. So go.
Claudia says, I know myself as being sensitive empath, but clairaudience is something new. Let's see how I deal with this now. Hopefully good. Well, whenever we have a new ability arrive or, manifest itself, it can be a little unnerving until we get used to it. No doubt about it. And also, if you're uncomfortable with it, tell them to shut up and leave you alone for a while because you need a break. You should be in charge. Well, it says, Jonathan, you should put all those PayPal links, etc., in your show, more spots. I actually just did that today. I just created it last week for someone who wanted to have a reading from Australia. And that was a better way. John says, thank you, Ian. I respect people's vows. It's always good. Don't want to make a vow and break it because, that kind of ruins all the magic you've ever done.
Yeah, it's a big magical no-no.
Super magical no-no.
Despite all the other, whatever you took an oath about and what consequences might have agreed to on it, it's just bad in general.
Well, since magic is all about your word,
yeah,
and being true to your word, breaking a vow is a pretty big red flag for the spirit world. And it goes like, So I'm going to tell you this super secret thing that I want you to not tell anyone else about, but you already blabbed that, so maybe not the right person to tell. Who knows? But yeah. Luna says, question for Ian. Seeing as Crowley has so many books and care needs to be taken to pick the crappy stuff, please can you recommend a Crowley book to start with?
Okay, and I'll respond to that a little bit too. Probably to try to actually get an understanding of the magic he practiced, I would go with Magic in Theory and Practice. If you like his poetry, there's some nice stuff. You might take a look at his little, what do you call it, golden twigs. There's a lot of lyrical stuff and poetic stuff. Heart of the Master, Konksam Pax. Some serious mystical stuff. If you look at his Liber Aleph, that's probably what he considered, or what I would consider, the height of his actual spirituality, and his spiritual teachings are contained in Liber Aleph, but it takes some understanding. Another really good little one is the Book of Lies, which are actually truths, but since everything has its own and brings into existence its own contradiction, the truth is basically lies for everybody who doesn't understand it, and that makes a very interesting book to read, actually. And there's a lot of deep symbolism and meaning in them, but the downside of that is you have to understand a lot of the symbolism and meaning of
The language, the kind of language he's
of
using and what he means by
the
that.
Western Hermetic magicians and things like that. So he actually has a lot of stuff, and he did a lot of beautiful poetry. He doesn't really have crappy stuff in his books, but he does things that give him a bad reputation, like using the word sacrificing male babies for ejaculating, basically. So he killed the sperm, so he puts that in his books as sacrificing a male baby. Stuff like that, that's just stupid as far as, giving him a bad reputation, but there's nothing really that's hidden about it or anything in general. So, yeah, he's a complex case. There's a lot of value there, but you just.
Violet recommended Vision in the Voice.
Oh, yeah, that's another one of my favorites. And the nice thing about that one is it should be initiatory. If you recreate the process he went through to get those visions and you do it successfully, you'll be basically initiating yourself also. So it's a system of self-initiation. And then you get up so far and you reach an area where you aren't developed past, and then it just stops. You have to get developed up to the point where you can get the next one. So, but they're very, very, very symbolic and also poetic.
Okay, so Jonathan says, I read up on Kuan Yin this week. She's awesome. Yes, she is. She's a very gentle goddess form. And I have Sarasvati on right now, who some people think of as Kuan Yin, although she's a different goddess. She's from the Hindu pantheon. But she's also a goddess of wisdom and knowledge and so forth, similar to an energetic read, I guess, to Kuan Yin, who's sitting on our altar behind me. She's a goddess of mercy. So Violet says, I've never figured out how to make a vow to anyone.
Okay, so to clear that up, I joined the OTO and was in it for a long time, and each time you go up a degree, you take a vow not to reveal anything that you're taught by the OTO or that degree or any of the stuff you learn. So basically...
To a lower degree.
Yes, basically I exoterically took the vow to the OTO, but esoterically those things count, so I really was like taking the vow. If you want to consider it that way, you could consider it like I was taking the vow in front of my guardian angel. So on a more spiritual level, if you're serious about it, yeah, those have to be honored, or you're basically doing some real destruction to yourself.
And the thing is all the initiatory religions have something similar. So Wicca has an initiation where you take a vow not to reveal certain information to someone who's not a member of the religion or not at the right degree. So it's common practice throughout a lot of the different pagan practices and so forth that are out there. Not all of them are generalized.
But they usually call it an oath, and when they use that terminology, meaning that it's just not to be violated, period.
Yeah. So Claudia says, what book can you recommend? Thank you. Well, there's a lot of books out there. The one that I got started on in the 80s was Starhawk's book, The Spiral Dance, and there's still a lot of really good basic information in there and some exercises that I actually do videos about, like the cup transformation exercise, for example. Not all the information in there is accurate now that I know more, but it's a good place to start. And yeah, the thing is that no matter who you read, as you know and understand more, you're going to have different interpretations of the first books that you read. So that is a good one. The traditional books, the Gardner books, the Buckland books, Doreen Valiente and her books, because they sort of started it. Sybil Leek, she was a hereditary witch from England. Dion Fortune, who's more into the ceremonial stuff but has a lot of good magical stuff in there. She's got a really nice novel called The Sea Priestess, which is a delightful read, and it's got a lot of magical reality in it. So, it's people have rewritten a lot of that stuff. The modern authors that are out there, I haven't really read much because I already have my base of knowledge, and I started off, when I was a teenager, with the tarot. So it's been since the 60s that I've been studying and reading and practicing and so forth. So I'm not as familiar with modern authors on magic, but I think that anything you read can be worthwhile if you like it or not. I mean, it's not, you can learn something from any book. If you don't like it, figure out why and what it is about the book you don't like or disagree with. If you do like it, again, figure out why and what it is about the book you do agree with. And that can give you a starting point to developing your own path, your own conversation or interaction with the universe, because it's going to be different for each and every one of us. Everything we write about is an approximation because there's no language specific enough to all of the things that we can experience when we're walking a magical path. It's a very subjective reality and very personal. So Luna says, thank you, Ian. That's kind of what I meant when I referred to crappy stuff. I couldn't figure out how to put it into words. Jonathan says, Violet, I tried really hard to never make promises, let alone vows. My understanding is that in certain closed groups, certain vows are non-optional. If you don't have a really good reason, don't vow. Well, if you don't want to be a member of the group, we got invited to join a Wiccan coven, and I had misgivings about it. There was just, energetically speaking, I wanted to make sure if I was going to take their initiation that I did it for the right reasons, not just so I could say I was a Wiccan, because there was a lot of confusion about whether I was or wasn't for a while in my own head, and then, I discovered I wasn't because they had defined it as something very specific.
But you are a witch.
But I am a witch, but not a Wiccan. And when I told the high priestess that I had misgivings, she dismissed them out of hand and said I just needed to do it and take the vows, and then I would understand, and that really put me off. I mean, that she dismissed my concerns and just, that was a big red flag for me. And then it turned out to be right. A seriously red flag from what happened later. So, yeah. So follow your intuition when it comes to that. Violet says, I guess you could say I have still not figured out how to communicate at all. I mean, I know that I am putting things together in my mind, but no full on meeting another entity yet.
It's hard to make it happen. Most of the ones that have communicated with me in the past have come to me a lot of times when I'm not expecting it.
Yeah. All of the interactions, most of them have been a surprise. Surprise! Here I am. I'm a god. I'm a goddess. What are you doing? I'm like, okay. Hi. What's up?
So yeah, it has a certain amount to do with developing your clairaudience, clairvoyance, and stuff too.
So Luna says, thank you, Violet. Julia says, hi. Hi, Julia. Adam says, hi. Hi, Adam. Susanna says, guys, I gotta go. I have to go to sleep, so have a great day and good night. Good night, Susanna. Enjoy your sleep. Violet says, I spill everything when I cosmic journal on Facebook. Well, remember that not everyone's going to understand what you're saying, so you're only spilling the beans to people who actually know what you mean by what you say, in that sense. The open secret is how I put it. It's like you can tell people the truth all you want all day, but if they don't want to hear it, it's like you haven't spoken anything aloud at all. It's just sort of the way it works. Angela said, I worked with my matrons a long time, then once I felt I was ready, did a dedication ritual and took a vow to them myself. Yeah, and those are just as valid as any other vow you can take.
Yeah, they are.
Julia says, I found a pink heart-shaped leaf yesterday. I'm not sure what spirit to thank for that gift. Any thoughts on who or what could have sent it to my doorstep? I'm thinking a goddess of love. Aphrodite, Ishtar, I mean, any number of them out there. Because it's a heart shape. It sounds like love to me. I mean, Aphrodite sent me roses. I mean, roses is one of her flowers. And when I needed to get a job, she had strangers giving me roses. I had like two entirely different instances on my way to get the job I landed where strangers came up and gave me a rose. And I had no doubt that it was a sign from Aphrodite and that I was going to get the job. And of course, because I was certain I was going to get the job, I wasn't nervous when I took the test, and I wasn't anxious when I had the third, I had a group interview, which was weird, like, a panel, I guess. A panel interviewed me, and I'd never done that before. And then I had the final interview with the department head and the other members of the department that I ended up working for. And I wasn't in the least bit anxious because I knew the job was mine. And then it was. It was my job, and I kept a rose on my desk the whole time I worked there as a dedication and a silent thank you to Aphrodite for her assistance. So Violet says, although 3 times I had interaction with otherworldly entities, so I know they are real. It was a while ago. One was a demon, and I think it was in attack mode, but I'm not sure. Angela says, my recommendation before making a vow is making sure you know and trust who you make the vow with and are going to keep it. Well, yeah, good idea. Claudia says, I'm interested in ceremonial magic, but the most of books have religion influence. Well, you mean Christianity influence?
Well, so Sarah, if you call the term
ceremonial, is
most
like
of
that.
what's listed under the term ceremonial magic has a basis of God or deity at some
and
level in
the
it.
archangels.
Pretty much all of it, yeah.
That's one of the reasons why Barton's book is valuable, because he takes the religion out of the ceremonial.
Yeah, it's I wouldn't call his stuff ceremonial magic. It's more like practical magic. The ceremonial magic stuff doesn't really start till you get to his second book, The Practice of Magical Evocation. For what that's worth.
Angela says, oh dang, I hope you weren't hurt if it was in attack mode, Violet. It was a bloody awful ice storm. No blood. Dang, still sorry. It was really, really something. Adam, question, is it possible for someone to use thought forms to energetically affect how people perceive them? Like, for example, to connect to someone on a higher vibrational level or anything like that. Okay, yes, it is. You still have to be careful with that, because if you're doing it to try and change their mind about you and you're trying to subsume their free will and bend it in your direction, then that could be seen in a certain light and could eventually lead to negative karmic consequences. But when I had a healing that I was trying to do for a friend who was clearly suicidal. She was getting ready to kill herself that night, and I wasn't here. I mean, she wasn't here. She was in Los Angeles, and I couldn't communicate with her on any of the other planes. I couldn't communicate with her on the astral or the mental plane at all. And the only way I could communicate with her was by bringing her up into the Akasha and talking directly to her higher self, and tell her what was happening, and to let her know what her options were and so forth. And it worked, although I didn't know it worked until later, because she suddenly disappeared completely from Facebook and from our lives for 6 months. Turns out that she took herself to a hospital and put herself in. She was having a psychotic break at the time. So that's not a thought form so much as me as my higher self talking to someone else's higher self and communicating. And I've used that technique when I need to process something with someone who doesn't want to hear what I have to say, and I really need somehow to let them know on some level what's going on. And then I'll do that, to their higher self, and then the higher self can decide when and if it's going to allow that information to dribble down into their consciousness, but it takes care of what I need.
Yeah, it can also be a part of the Eucharist they use for, that's the main purpose of the guru worship that they do in India, but you have to be careful with using that form. The idea is to connect to a higher vibrational level through the image of the person, the guru, but you have to be careful and make sure that you're worshiping like the universal guru and not the personality of the person, because you can pick up on bad stuff too.
Slightly different, I think, from what I was talking about, but similar process.
Well, connecting to somebody on a higher vibrational level.
Yeah. But I'm not trying to get to a guru. It's just an individual in this case. So, Violet says, I mean, it's possible I called it to my playing with a poem, but my friend suggested attack. That made me laugh so much. Siofra, hi, God, goddess, lol. Yeah, that was fun. Claudia says, I'm a witch finally. I have the courage to say it out loud, but same problem. I don't know where I belong. I mean, why does a witch have a religion? It doesn't, you don't have to have a religion as a witch. You have practices, but it doesn't have to be a religion at all. It's an interaction with life and nature, and that's why it's usually clumped underneath paganism, nature, religion. But it can be spirituality rather than a religion. Religion is more.
But Wicca is basically.
Well, right, Wicca's a religion, but she doesn't want. It doesn't have to be a religion. All Wiccans are supposedly witches, but not all witches are Wiccans, and not all pagans are witches. There's like a range of definitions of things when it comes to the magical community.
Too much nomenclature.
A lot of nomenclature. Enough. So yes, but claiming, to me, a witch is someone who is consciously interacting with life and the energy of life and all the existence that implies, all different parts of life, not just in themselves and not with other humans, but with everything that's out there, including the stone people, the standing people, the four-legged people. It's like they all have their thing. Violet says, open secret, I love it. Angela said something and changed her mind. Chill Baby says, I have really been enjoying the more challenging and mystical topics of your videos lately, like your last one, creating your own reality. Thank you and looking forward to more. You're welcome. I do my best. Luna says, Aphrodite showed up in my bedroom the other week. Well, see, there you go. Answer to the question, right? Angela says, my favorite deity communication was when I worked with Arachne. I accidentally gave her a mint candle. I didn't know mint repelled spiders. I was handed a newspaper article with the information the next day.
I didn't know that either.
Aha! Changed the candle. She would put spiders in my path. Still does, to say hello. Well, that's interesting. The universe says, hey, this isn't working the way you think it is. Silver Soul Fox says, hi guys, just wanted to say your hair looks beautiful this evening. I learned so much from watching your channel and wanted to say thank you. You're welcome, and I'm so glad. That's our goal, is to give out information that then people can use, to grow, do their own thing. Violet says, oh cool, on your Arachne. Violet says, peppermint tea bags after they've been steeped in your vents is good for all repelling. Yeah, it is actually. A lot of insects don't like strong smells of essential oils like peppermint. And then myrtle wood is another one that repels insects, because the myrtle leaf has got a very strong oil in it. Angela says, I don't want to repel spiders. I love them. The only ones I crush are the recluse and willow due to not wanting to be bitten. Yeah, recluse spiders are dangerous. So are the black widows. Violet says, yeah, I kind of got that. Danny says, her hair does look great. Well, thank you. I have great hair. I just washed it this morning. So this is a fresh wash look. Claudia says, every time when I make an offering of grapes to Aphrodite, she comes in my dreams and shows me very much earth where the seed of grape growing. That sounds awesome. It's a good connection. May May says, I did a banishment for a suicidal friend that had an entity attached to her. She has been trying to look into the entity without protection. I'm worried she will undo what I did for her. That's a possibility. I mean, you can't force people to do the right thing. They have to decide to do it for themselves. And that's the thing about being a healer. You can heal somebody, and if they're really not ready to be healed or don't want to be healed, they'll go out and immediately do whatever activity it was that made them sick in the first place. And that can be very frustrating for the person who's trying to help. And I totally understand that. It's difficult to accept people's choices when you see them as destructive. But then you can't make their choices for them.
Well, yeah.
It's annoying.
There are very few people who can learn things from other people, but there are a few.
There are a few.
Sometimes people learn things.
I like to try and learn from other people.
Yeah.
so I don't have to like do the same
Well,
thing and
yeah,
learn it myself.
exactly.
My daughter, on the other hand, refused to learn anything unless she did it herself. She was like insistent on doing everything what I would consider the wrong way all the way along. So, eventually you just have to give in and let them do their thing because they're here to learn something different in a different way than what we would like. So yeah, that's one of those things. It's like I said, with that, I wasn't sure it was working. I did not know until 6 months later that it had worked. We thought she had committed suicide, and we just never heard about it. I trolled the newspapers and the death notices in the L.A. Times for a while to see if her name came up, and now she seems to be fine. It's like it never happened. So, yay. And we have to be careful not to jump to conclusions just because our abilities show us something. Our interpretation of what we see is not always correct, or what we feel.
That's true. We interpret everything through our own filters.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, with my clair abilities becoming more physical, I'm learning that pretty well. That just because I feel something somewhere doesn't mean that that's the thing I think it is. Violet says, is the circle on the ground the same thing as a bubble of protection around me? Is that triangle necessary? The triangle is necessary if you're trying to evoke a spirit being into the physical realm and you give it a place to come to. It's sort of like a target.
Yeah, a triangle is a symbol of manifestation, manifests down. It's cardinal number 3 in Saturn. That tends to materialize things down and concretize them is what you do with the triangle.
And really, if you're trying to get something that close, you need to give it a target. It's like it's coming from another sphere, either a planetary sphere or, whatever. And, you got to give it a place to go. So that's what I see the triangle as, is you're giving it the place. You fill it with the energy that it wants, that it likes, and that's comfortable with, and you give it a target.
Yeah.
And you give it some boundaries, just like the circle gives us a boundary in within which to raise energy and to keep it from just floating away into the breeze and out the window and into the plants outside, which I'm sure they would appreciate, but doesn't help us. It's like it's creating a container.
And I wanted to go into the circle bit a little bit also, now that you mention it, because yes, it can be exactly the same as a bubble of protection around you. In general, when witches draw a circle, that type of thing, that's what it is. It's like you could picture it like a bubble of protection around you or a container. Put something in, and that would be fine. Specifically in evoking spirits, it standing in the middle of the circle implies that you are. Sorry, all my terms are very symbolic, and I don't want to use the symbolic terms because that'll just be confusing. Basically, it assumes, for practically speaking, for the practice of evocation, that the circle represents deity or God or the entire macrocosm, and you are the point in the middle of the circle. So you are the microcosm, and that is the symbol for the sun, which is a symbol of harmony. So it has specific meanings in the context of evocation, but otherwise a circle is basically, yes, you can picture it like a bubble of protection around you.
So Claudia says, I meant calling myself a witch because I feel that I finally understand what is my path, not in a way that I know everything. Oh no, my English is no good. No, your English is fine. I think I understand what you mean. And yes, I'm still learning too. There's no end as far as participating in and learning more about your path and connecting more completely. Last night I got a colored light show. It was like purples and blues and greens and things that were moving around, which was really nice to watch and got me distracted quite a while. And then nothing happened. It was just colored light shows, but I like those. So Luna says, Siofra sounds like my eldest daughter. She'll only learn from her own mistakes. My advice means nothing. Yeah, sometimes it's just the way they are. Violet says, ooh. Jonathan says, building on May's comment, with banishings, protections, intercessions, and other magic done on behalf of someone else, what would you say is the success rate if the person is not on board with it?
I'd say probably 0.
Yeah, pretty much. Not going to work if they're not on board with it. It's like, unless their higher self decides that it's going to work no matter what. I mean, there could be an exception there.
Yeah,
To save their life
yeah.
or something like that, their higher self might intervene, and in that case, they would not know that they were on board with it. It can happen. We're mostly disconnected from all those parts.
Well, like that, like being on board with it doesn't, yeah, it can go beyond what you think is going on. That's the thing there.
But it's better when you can get verbal consent. Because then you know that that part of them at least is on board with it. And then if the rest of them isn't, it still won't work. So it's complicated. Violet says, I cannot easily draw a circle on my ground.
Well, Violet, you don't really need to, because for a long time I did it just by,
go like this and spin around.
Well, yeah, you set up, it's related to Kether and the Kabbalah and that, but a spinning globe of light above your head that's bringing in divine light from all the universe, bring it down into you, into your arm or whatever, and put that out into the air and draw it, try to make it seem as physically real as you can, draw it around you in a circle, using the energies and things are the best way.
If you want to have a physical circle, a small one, a hula hoop works really well for that.
Or you can put one on a piece of cloth like we've done.
Or you can take like a long ribbon and tie a knot in it and then lay it on the ground and make it as circular as you can. If you want to have a physical representation of a circle that's easy to carry, you can stick it in your pocket when you're done.
Yeah, well, I like the one we have just folds up.
Yeah.
And then we just flop it back out on the floor, and we have enough
and we
room
use the
in it
thingy to make a circle.
Yeah, and you always redraw
Compass.
it anyway. You've got the circle there, but you redraw it with energy to make the energy form of it.
Yeah.
And the physical part is mostly just a reminder of what you're doing with your energies. So the most important part is doing it correctly energetically.
Yeah, it can figure out its own shape. It's not going to like stay there and like, be all wobbly and stuff. You're filling it with energy. It's going to naturally sort of poof in a circular direction. Luna says, at Jonathan, very good question. Thank you for asking it. Jill Baby says, Luna, at least you know when she's older, she won't believe just anything anybody else tells her either. Well, one can hope. Angela says, you can draw it in the air with your hand or in your mind. Visualize the circle. Violet says, Ian, this is wonderful circle stuff. Siofra 2 on the triangle target. Yes, I think that was pretty good language to use to make it more
that was
understandable. Yeah. Sometimes I'm inspired. It's always good when I'm inspired. Silver Soul Fox says, any tips on dream recall other than journaling and rosemary? I've tried a lot, but no luck. I wake up exhausted without lucid dreaming or astral projection. Can't remember anything, which is not my norm. Well, you could set an alarm to make yourself wake up periodically throughout the night and see if you remember a dream at that point. And write it down as soon as you can recall it. The journaling is the fastest way that I know of doing it, and that is just writing down what you can remember. Even if it's nothing, you write down, I don't remember anything, because you're trying to access self-erasing brain cells in your mind, and so it makes it difficult to remember, and it's a practice. Teaching yourself that you want to remember, and if this is not normal, have you started a new form of medication that might be blocking your dream self, because that can happen. But
of course, I have a friend who tried something interesting once. He'd eat a whole bunch of salty stuff and saltine crackers before going to sleep, hoping that he would dream in his sleep that he was thirsty, and then that would cause him to realize and wake up in his dream. And I think he had some success with that. I'm not sure how much. That was Vandermeer.
Okay. I had another thought that was wandering through there. I'm not sure where it went, though.
Sorry, hope it didn't derail your thought train.
Maybe. It hadn't gotten far enough to succeed at where it was heading. Oh, yes, mugwort. You're talking about using rosemary, but mugwort is supposed to be more specific for dreaming. You can drink some mugwort tea and see if that helps, or put mugwort in a pillow and put it underneath um, your pillow. Or you could charge up a stone with dream energy or with the idea of dreaming and put that under your pillow. Do you know what stone would work best? Might depend on what kind of dream you're having. I'll have to look that one up and see if I come up with something that helps. Nadia says, can spirits show emotion through us? I recently tried to talk to without expecting a response of a loved one who passed. I'm not sure if the tears were mine or my eyes felt dark or not mine a bit. Empaths, when I'm working with a spirit as an empath, I feel their feelings and allow it to express itself. And that's how I know what the feeling is. So, yeah, that spirits can show emotion through you when you connect with them empathically. It doesn't mean that you have to be possessed or inhabited or channeling or anything. It's just a natural empathic ability that you can evolve and develop. Jonathan says, silver, to remember a dream, don't change the position of your head when you're waking up. The neural dream connections in your brain get wiped if the blood in your head moves around with gravity. Interesting. Adam says, what is the furthest that you have tried to remote view? How far did you get? Well, I mean, I landed on the surface of the sun. That's 93 million miles. I've been to Pluto. That's farther. I mean,
yeah, distance
is
really
irrelevant.
Distance is irrelevant to remote viewing, pretty much.
Chill Baby says, Silver Soul Fox, have you tried just telling yourself before you fall asleep to remember your dream in the morning? Sounds simple, but it can work. I'm betting that he already tried that. Yes, and I'm struggling, but we'll keep writing. Thank you so much. Well, try the mugwort. Maybe that'll help. And we'll look up some different stones that you might be able to charge with dream energy and see if that assists or not. Claudia says, at the moment I work and worship Hecate more, and I only worship Aphrodite. 4 in the morning I must chant, meditate with Hecate. This is happening for 2 weeks. I just wake up at the same hour. Well, some of them are specific. Sounds like you have one that's pretty specific. Silver Fox says, yes, I've tried telling myself to remember in mugwort as well, but I'm going to use all this wonderful energy to overcome this memory lapse. Thank you all so much. Well, good luck. I mean, it's like remembering dreams is a good thing sometimes. It's like I've been dreaming a fair bit more lately, and the dream I had night before last, I think it was, indicates we have a ways to go with the pandemic. We're not done yet. There were all kinds of weird bugs everywhere. It was like, oh, no, go away. Jonathan says, orange juice before you sleep gives crazy dreams. I haven't done it in a while, but I've had a lot of fun with it in the past. That might depend on your particular physiology. And like, I can't take kava kava or melatonin because it gives me extremely violent and horrific nightmares. My granddaughter and I were just talking about that earlier, and she says she prefers the nightmares she gets from melatonin than the usual nightmares that she has without it. I'm like, never thought of that since she's having a lot of nightmares. But, everyone's physiology and body is going to be different. So it might give you indigestion if you don't like orange juice, and that could keep you slightly awake and annoyed and allow you to remember your dreams better. Who knows? But anyway, it's a process. Sometimes we're better at something and then it goes away and then it comes back. And it's like, we have phases and tides, and
we're analog.
Yeah.
People are analog. That's all there is to it.
Yep. Hey, and Luna says that would give her heartburn. Apparently I picked up on that before she said it. Angela says that might be where it comes from. If you wake up between 3 or 4 a.m., there's something trying to tell you something and you woke up to hear the message. TM says, did anyone have crazy dreams lately? Yes, and I just talked about mine. It was a very odd dream. All the weird bug things. It's like, Silver says, Jonathan, goodness, I am enough crazy, no juice needed, but thank you. Yes, that's why we remember to tell everyone this is something that worked for me. It may or may not work for you. Because our chemistry is all different. It's just annoying. If only we were all exactly the same and one of
Then
us
it
could
would be
figure it
very
out.
boring.
One of us could figure out how it works, tell everybody else, and then bam, there you go. We're all good. That would be that would be something else. It would be boring. Yeah. That's the thing I like about life. It's definitely lots of variety.
Whatever you want to say about it, it's not boring.
It's got a lot of variety. Sometimes it's fun, sometimes not so fun. It just all depends.
Boring is only short term.
So Aaron says, yes, me and another friend in the faith is having weird dreams lately. Just and there's actually there was a study, a dream study that someone was doing. I don't know if they're still doing it or not, where people recorded their dreams and then they predicted future events based upon the commonalities in some of the dreams that people had. If a lot of people dreamt about the same subject, then they figured something was coming that dealt with that subject.
That's a rather interesting.
Yeah, I heard about that a few years ago, but I haven't seen anything about it since. So I'm not sure if they dropped it or they're just keeping it on the down low.
Might be interesting to try and look something like that up, though.
So Nadia says that Silver, maybe try thinking of an object or event person before sleep. Chances are you might dream about it and connect the two during a dream. If you manage to get lucid, could help recall. True. Claudia says, yes, me too. A crazy dream was a ghost woman attacked me and hung herself in front of my eyes. Ew. Death dreams are never fun. And ghosts that are killing themselves is kind of like weird, considering they're dead already. So that's kind of interesting.
I don't think I've ever dreamed about a ghost. Of all the things I've ever dreamed.
I think I have, but I don't recall any at the moment. Certainly had plenty of dreams about Moira. She would come to me in my dreams and show me all sorts of things. Now, I had a very active dream phase there where I was dreaming all sorts of interesting stuff. Can magic be used to cure COVID? No. I think it might help somebody to recover from COVID, but I don't think it can be used to cure it. And it may not work at all. It really depends because it's a real disease. And, it has its own impetus. It wants to replicate itself, and that's all it's interested in doing. And, healing, doing healing rituals and stuff like that is never a bad idea. It can help support a person.
Basically, remember, your body always repairs itself, but what you can do is give it all the energy for your immune system and help your body that way energetically to take care of it.
But it's not going to prevent you from getting it. It's not going to make you fight it better necessarily. And I mean, your best option is to do what you can to prevent yourself from getting the worst cases of it. So, Aaron says, I need to find a vase in a book. Claudia says, coming from Hecate. Silver Soul says, Nadia, thank you. I'm getting closer, but it feels like a block or brick wall keeping me from reaching my dream messages, if that makes sense. Like I said, we have our own seasons. Sometimes they're in them, sometimes they're not. Luna says, I met my spirit animal in a lucid dream within a few hours of me assuming my craft name a few days ago. Full description in email.
Cool.
Okay, awesome. I actually met one of my spirit animals in a dream. My panther. Someone sent 2 black panthers to try and harm me. And I thought to myself, well, that was a mistake. And they came around the corner and I was standing there with 2 panthers laying at my feet. And they were like, oh, okay, that didn't work. I was in Santa Cruz. I really don't know what the heck was going on, but it was a pretty clear, vivid dream. I've had dreams with other animals. I had an amazing dream with a lion. I had one with a whale. I mean, they were like, I was so connected to them in the dream state. It was like a full-on relationship and a blending, merging kind of thing. It was pretty incredible. So Nadia says, Silver, not sure if you'd be into that, but dream-inducing crystals or relaxation meditation before sleep so you can relieve tension that might be blocking you. Good luck. Adam says, question, you said that you met Pan before, if I'm not mistaken. Can you tell us what you learned from him and what role does he have as a nature spirit and how did you meet him and what realm does he belong in? Well, I saw him in the woods and I also saw him in dreams, and he is a nature deity. And I also listened to conversations with Pan by can't think of his name off the top of my head, but if you look up conversations with Pan, you can find it. It's on the internet. He was one of the people from Findhorn. It came. I wasn't sure. And he's a nature spirit. He's in charge of other nature spirits. He's kind of like, if it's a hierarchy, higher up, and he teaches about sensuality and connection to all life, basically. JDP says, can magic be used to cure depression? I think it can be used to assist, but there's no
quick answer.
There's no quick
No
solution
instant solution.
magically.
Yeah. But you can use it to work on yourself to get to the point where you no longer have the depression.
Right, but there's nothing wrong with seeking medication or therapy or whatever to help with what might be causing it, or getting a diagnosis and maybe there's something going on in your body that is making your brain chemistry off. I mean, we are not simple binary life forms. We're very complex. There's a lot of things going on in us. And magic is always a good assist to a lot of those things, but it's not, generally speaking, the only thing you can do or the only thing to do.
Well, again, we're talking about a physical thing. You have a non-physical basis. You're trying to affect a physical thing, so it's always takes a lot of effort to have success that way.
Silver Soul Fox says, yes, my spirit fox walks with me always, tricky boy. Actually, I dreamt about a fox last night, and I think I know whose fox it was. I forgot to tell her. She'll hear about it later. Jonathan says, Siofra, do you make your dream catchers to only catch the bad dreams? Well, that's what they're for. The dream catchers are there to keep the bad dreams from getting to you so that you can then have good dreams. That's the whole purpose of a dream catcher. That's its historic purpose or its ritual purpose or cultural, the information about it. I took the design from one of the Native American tribes that created the Dreamcatcher in the first place. And that's what they use it for. I'm always worried when I see people having dream catchers in their car and they're driving. And I'm like, you should not be sleeping. This is a bad idea. If you're having dreams right now, something's wrong because you're supposed to be paying attention. Anyway. So Lucas says, hey everyone, is it possible to cast a spell by accident, even curses? Greetings from Berlin. Hi Lucas, thank you for attending. I don't think a curse is possible by accident, although I think curses can happen in a trauma situation. Like someone who's being murdered by somebody who utters a curse is probably the most powerful curse there is, and not one that can probably even be undone. But because there's a lot of energy behind that kind of a thing.
But even thinking bad thoughts at another person can potentially harm them because those thoughts have a certain life of their own and a certain sharpness. So potentially you could do damage by accident, but it wouldn't be a curse really.
And the thing, even with thoughts, negative thoughts going to someone, if they're a healthy individual and they've got their natural protections, it's not going to harm them either. So it's going to really depend upon the condition of the receiver as well as the ability of the sender.
And if the thoughts being sent hit a weak spot in the receiver, something like that.
One of their, if you're sending out a hook that matches a hook in them, then it can bring up stuff.
So it doesn't have to be on purpose, but most of that stuff, if it actually has any result, is done on purpose.
So, Silver Fox says, gotta run, but thank you all so much for the wise words of encouragement. Many blessings. Bye, Silver. Claudia says, animals dream more with wolf ghosts other time kissing me rather what eating me alive. Okay, I'm not quite getting that one. Also from Hecate, when I first started serious with meditation, snakes, one I remember was a cobra, very colorful. Well, yeah, we can definitely have a lot of different animals and types of beings that we encounter, and snakes are often associated with the kundalini rising in the spine.
Yeah, cobras specifically, especially
Specifically
like
cobra.
Kashmir Shaivism and
Yeah.
related Shaivism stuff.
Jonathan says, Lucas, yes, I wear an evil eye bead permanently to protect myself from accidental magic from myself and or others. It's really easy to cast the evil eye by accident. But yeah, very few people have ever seen me angry. When they see me angry, they turn around and run. Yeah, it's like, apparently I'm very good at the evil eye if I'm really mad, because I only have righteous rage, so then they know they're in trouble. I had some kids in high school students who backed up with their hands up in the air like this, backing up really fast. No, no, I would never do that. No. I'm so sorry. I never should have said that. I was joking. It was only a joke, please. So, yeah. That was definitely one of those types of situations. Jennifer said, thank you for supporting medication and therapy as treatments for mental illness. Well, yeah, there's this weird thing out there that says if you can't cure it by magic, you're not doing it right. And I don't get that at all, because we have a physical body that we're in, not just the spirit body. And, it's like, and like we said earlier, one thing, it's not one size fits all. If it works for somebody, awesome. I'm so happy for them. If it doesn't work for someone else, it doesn't mean they shouldn't try other things. It's not about whether, it's not to try and prove that you can, like, duke it out with your whatever and overpower it and overcome it. It's about learning about who you actually are and what kind of a body you're in and what it needs, because really, you don't give it the right food, if you don't give it enough water, you don't give it enough air, you're not going to be here for very long. We were having a conversation with my granddaughter about that too. She's like, I don't understand why you have to keep feeding this thing. I said, it depends on how long you want to hang out. Claudia says, dreams of cats, many of them. Yes, I often dream of cats. Violet says, it really is such a treat to get you both. Thank you. You're welcome. Nadia says, do you recommend how to go about interpreting our dreams? Any good sources, like a book? Even if confusing, I managed to find accuracy in real life, but internet interpretations are too various. Well, they're too generalized, and I don't recommend any book that says, this is a dream dictionary and it will tell you what your symbols in your dream means, because they are way too general.
Very personal.
Yeah, dream symbols are extremely personal. And so the only book I really recommend is called The Dream Game by Anne Faraday. It's an older book, but it has all the techniques and tools in there for interpreting your dream, learning your own dream language so you know what your symbols mean, Yeah, so that's what I would do. Any thoughts on the left or the right? The left keeps reaching me first. Are you talking about the right or left-hand path, which I don't believe in? JDP says, what is your take of understanding the difference of being of a different race and also enjoying those traditions and beliefs compared to cultural appropriation? I think that a lot is made of the term cultural appropriation. If what you're trying to do is say that you're a member of a group that you have no connection with, and you're appropriating all their rituals and so forth, wholeheartedly, and not and don't have a foundation for that, then that I think could be called that. But I mean, okay, at my stage in magic, I see the similarities between all the different systems. So when I cast a circle, is it the same or different than someone who would call in the four directions in a circle who's a Native American, or someone who is a Western Hermetic, or someone who is Wiccan, or someone who's a witch? I mean, it's a universal kind of symbol. So depending on if you're looking at the universality of things or you're remembering a past life, which can happen too. And certainly I've had visions when I've gone to Native American ceremony stuff. I was at a what did they call it? They were doing the dancing, the traditional dancing, and watching them dance, I could remember all kinds of things. So, although I would not make a good dancer for their traditional dance, I certainly can appreciate it. So I don't know. I mean,
Well,
it's a
and one of the big differences, one of the things, if Siofra or I appropriate something, that means we don't do it without thought. It's usually that this is something from their culture that we appreciate very much and find it very useful for what we're doing, and we appreciate it. So it's a difference of attitude there.
that's one of the joys of being eclectic.
Yep.
But if you're eclectic without understanding the underlying principles of what you're adopting, then you're just being random. It's not the same thing. So Violet says, I'm Scorpio. Scorpio Cancer is my best guess for this poll. Ivan says, thank you for everything. Love you. Be safe. Yes, we are running a little bit over, but that's because we missed you all last week so much. Yep. Claudia says, here is very late. I will go to sleep for now. I am very glad that I see you. Many blessings. Thank you, Claudia, for being here. And Jonathan says, just because we understand it doesn't mean it's not magic. Modern medicine is magic. Well, it certainly can be perceived that way. Violet says, like Amzadeh and Lilith first. Luna says, thank you, Siofra and Ian. Blessings for the week ahead. Ian says, thank you to Claudia. Jonathan says, thank you for tonight. You're welcome, Jonathan. And we're really glad that we got our thing working so we could do this, because we look forward to this too. So, all right. And Violet says, oh yeah, I remember now. No left, no right. I love that. It's just magic. Depends on your point of view. Angela says, I just bumped into a statue of Lilith browsing Amazon today. She had angel wings, looked pretty cool. What is your favorite entity statue? Well, my very first one was Aphrodite. I have all kinds of Aphrodites. Every time I see one, I want another one, but there's a lot of them. My personal goddess is Aurora, and I painted her myself. So I guess in that case, she is my favorite at this point, but I like them all. I just like everything. What can I say? So, okay, guys, I guess I have to go. So, thank you all for participating and for giving us your questions. We really appreciate it. And I have a couple of subjects potentially to talk about. I'm watching the sneezes happen.
I better go get some more antihistamines.
Yes, well, we're on our way out. So, love you guys. Bye.